and welcome to Conversations with Agents of Change, the podcast where we meet people who challenge assumptions, create new possibilities, and turn ideas into meaningful change. I'm your host, Izy Boyd, and today's guest is Lido Ghali, better known as Lido. Lido is a self taught product designer and product manager with more than 15 years of experience across product strategy, user experience, software, analytics, and artificial intelligence. His career has taken him across Morocco, Egypt, and China, and he has worked at the intersection of technology, business, and human behavior. He also helped co found and scale Glue Up, growing it from a 5-person startup into an international company with more than 100 employees and customers across over 50 countries. What interests me about Lido's story is not simply the technology he has helped to build, it is the way he approaches problems, understanding people first, questioning assumptions, and transforming complex ideas into products that people can actually use. I first had the opportunity to work with Lido when he helped develop the website for Stage the Change. I really enjoyed working with him, particularly his ability to take a collection of ideas and turn them into something practical, engaging, and easy to use. In this conversation, we will explore design, thinking, entrepreneurship, working across cultures, scaling a business, the realities of artificial intelligence, and what it takes to turn an idea into genuine impact. So, Lido, welcome to Conversations with Agents of Change.
Thank you for having me, Izzy. Welcome there.
Lido, many people will know you through your work in technology and product development, but I would like to begin with the person behind the professional biography. So, who is Lido and what experiences have most shaped the way you think?
I spent most of my life in Morocco till the age of 24. Then I decided to start traveling. So my first trip was to Egypt because it was my ancestors' land. So I wanted to see Egypt. So I find out that since I have an Egyptian passport, I have to do the military service as well. So I was forced to stay. Once I was out in 2001, it started a new chapter in my life. I discovered the internet and the web design just with one question of my previous girlfriend. She told me, "Do you know how to write a report in HTML?" I told her, What's its HTML?" So she took me to a friend. He spent with me an hour to explain to me what is HTML. After 1 year, I was hired in a company as a junior web designer. I spent the whole year trying to learn on my own because it was fascinating. I was always fascinated with computers and the codings and language when I was young, but I never took it seriously. But in 2001, I found out. I said to my late father, I told him, "Dad, that will be my career." For him, I was supposed to be an engineer and something else completely different in a different field. But I told him, no, this is my life. This is my career. That's how it will end
That's it.
here. And since then, I spent some time in Egypt. It was a food company, actually one of the top company. I learned a lot there with a lot of engineers, helped me really to shape. They were professionals coming from with a background of computer science. I was just an amateur, but they took me. And after that, a few years fast, then I moved to the UK.
Did being self taught ever made you feel like an outsider or it just become one of your strengths?
I was clearly an outsider. There was two groups in the company where I worked. There was one group who believed that it is fine that you try to teach yourself in a field that is very new. You can
Yeah.
teach self-taught. And another group that were purely very academic. They insist that you have to know every single part by book.
Mhm.
So it was really challenging. And okay, I had friends from both sides. In the end, after 1 year, I was helping one of these engineers how to understand the new CSS that he just came out. And he just tried to figure out how to use it. I was the one who helped him because when you are self-taught, you skip a lot of parts that someone has to teach you.
Yeah.
You have to rely on your own and understanding, finding all the right questions and finding the good answers.
I find that being self taught usually means like you need to learn through your own curiosity, as you said, and experimentation and making mistakes, lots of them.
Yes, because this is what I notice. Many other people I see, they have to learn in an academical way. So have this courses, I have this, that, I have to learn this, I have to take this certificate, I have to take that to the, because this is how we learn things. It's not like you. We don't do the way you do. Self-taught is not that easy as you think. For me, I see it, yes, it will help you to shorten the process of learning. But for me, I find out you don't just have to learn, you have to make mistakes. And these mistakes will make you gain more expertise.
Absolutely. And you know what? I wanted to touch on what you were doing after you moved to the UK. So, how did you get there, first of all? How did that change you?
Believe it or not, since I left Morocco, I didn't return. And I saw pictures of Donegal.
Oh, Donegal.
And it reminded me exactly the look of the north of Morocco. So I saw that picture and I say, I have to go there. It was a big change to go to Egypt. Then I spent 1 year in Saudi Arabia, which was a complete catastrophe because it was too hot. I cannot stand the heat more than 30 degrees. It was unbearable for me. And my contract was 2 years. I shortened to 8 months. No, I can't do it. And straight to Ireland.
There you go.
And I started from the second month, I think I started a company for web design. And it was also extended to interior design. So it was a combination. So I spent 7 years until China came to my mind. I asked a friend, how is it like China looks like? He told me it's fine, it's a nice country. Then jumped. I made the same decision exactly. Just sheer curiosity, just to know what's there.
I think that one of the things I've noticed about you is that you are a problem solver. So, product design sometimes can be misunderstood and as just making something look good or attractive. But the reality is that it's about understanding the problem and the behaviors and the systems. So when someone comes to you with an idea, what are you trying to understand before you even begin to think about the solution?
Well, as you said, like problem solving is the key of a good product design. Like for me, if you want to design a handle, try use your cat opening that handle. Cat, when they just see how you open the door, they learn how to do it. It has to be as simple as he jump, stretch his body, and pull it. My cat, after a month, he learned just to open the door the same way. So for me, as they say, a good handle is not praised. It's when it's not there that we need to find out the real solution.
And how do you distinguish between what a customer says they want and what they actually might need? Because I think that's recurrent in many industries.
That is the famous quote of Henry Ford, I think, when he say, if you ask people about cars, they want a car with good, I think something like a car with good horses or right, something like this. But they not think about the engine. Like if you are thinking, for example, here's an iPhone, should I create a pen like stylus to try to use against tablets, or I just use my hand?
Yeah.
The good design is to make it simple as the ability to just use your hand. You don't need an extra element to just to do. That is the design. It's hard, it's challenging, but that's is a good design. When you just sum up with something like, why I need a stylus when I have five, or we say 10 or something like this.
Absolutely. And I think that is it's very important because I think businesses become very emotionally attached to an idea before even checking whether anybody's actually going to use it. So what do you think are the common mistakes that organizations make when they are trying to develop a new product or a service?
Yeah. Since I came from a background of designer then product manager, so I have went over the whole spectrum. I did a bit of development, I did a bit of that. So it was for me to understand the whole atmosphere of a product.
Yeah.
So as a product designer, there is always this challenge. You have to be a good listener because you have the customers. They want solutions. They have problems. They are not buying your product because it's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about the marketing words that you are putting there. They don't care about anything, even the price. They will be care about the price if it solved the problem.
Exactly.
They care about their own interests. There is nothing more frustrating than a customer buying a product and come complaining because it's not intuitive enough, it's not easy enough, it's a tutorial to learn. So you have the customer, they have specific needs. You have the marketing people that they want to push every single features in that product to pop. They need more and more and more. And when you say more, that's a lot of hassle for the developer team.
And how soon do you think that the potential users should become part of the design process?
The user is the starting point.
Yeah.
You are not designing a product out of the blue and you will try to find users for it. That's trap. That's usually a big trap. A lot of companies, they start a product without users. They start a product and try to find users who are gonna use it. A lot of startups do the same problem. They don't have the courage to go there, look for the problem to solve.
Mm.
What is the serious problem that we need to solve? Our products are genuinely a solution to an existing problem.
Absolutely.
How the Egyptian have built the pyramids. No, it's not alien. It was simple solutions gathered over years. There is multiple attempts to build the pyramid, different over different age. It took around 50 years or more to just to come up with the right angle because the pyramid is not completely flat like this. No, it's 8 angles, but slightly modified. You have 4 streets, and in each side, it's another two with an inside inclination, but it's not visible. It took 50 years for Egyptian to come up with that design.
That's exciting. Yeah.
It was a simple thing, but now how to build it? That was another simplicity again. It just put in water with sand and just move things and it just goes smooth with the right inclination as well.
And it makes me think of what you have been saying about the design thinking. And it can sound very technical and abstract, but how would you explain design thinking to someone running a small business or a traditional business?
The first thing that you find difficult with a customer is how to communicate in general. You are dealing with a person that has a fixed idea in the brain first.
Mm-hmm.
Simplest way to communicate to a user that the thinking design is to take him through the process like a third person. He has to just leave this seat, not to think about himself as what he wants. They have to see the implication because sometimes it's just a biased thinking. You think your product it is working this way. Sometimes the customer may be right. Yeah, because they have something called the expertise of the everyday that designers may not have enough knowledge about it, but you have to go through the methodology of understanding the needs. Like you cannot shut the customer or the user from making his point, but I have to be careful as well into taking him through the process. Why this work? Why this would not be the right way to do it?
Makes sense. And thinking of that, can you give us an example of when a problem that looked very obvious at first, but then changed altogether when you understood the people involved?
Where to say the right word because I don't want to be taken in the. I think you may referring to something called intuitive and familiarity. Like we see August for a lot of people, for instance, it's like that's what's supposed to be the decision, and everyone will agree about this decision. This is called familiarity, and sometimes it is getting confused with intuitive solution, and they say This design, it's not intuitive enough. You hear it, it's crazy. Nobody will know it because it falls far away from the familiarity. People are used with a certain familiarity.
Yes.
And this is the tricky part always. When you're trying to look from a different perspective, like a long term maybe, or a side that nobody have looked at.
And how do you make sure that the people that are affected by the decision are included when shaping it? Because there might be different players when making a decision. So, from the design point of view. So, how everybody feels involved without taking like becoming a Frankenstein of a
That
problem.
is very, very, very good question. And here is an answer. You see here in the mobile here, have you ever noticed in the iPhone, there is always one little thing here, a small element like,
Uh huh.
okay. The designers in Apple, when they come up with the design, they come with a solid piece. Didn't involve the engineer. And they went straight ahead to the engineer and told them, do this design as you see it. Because the engineers was not involved at the starts, and it was a little bit of arrogant attitude of the design department of Apple, because they went all the time with this way. So they didn't involve the engineers to just to explain them the simplest rules of physics, the Faraday cage. If you take an item made of aluminum like this, full circle, it creates a cage, so this mobile will be completely useless. It's not about the look of it. It's the physics say it will not work. You have to break here and here and here and here in order to work. So they end up listening to the engineer, the engineer trying to explain to them, guys, it's not possible. You can't possibly do anything about it. You have to break it. So they come up with this solution to try to break this. So people see just they think it's part of the design. No, it's not. It's a solution for a problem made by the designer. Because they involved the engineers from the start.
Yeah, it would have been easier. And it's a roundabout way to solve a problem afterwards. So, if they
Everyone
think of from the
must get
beginning.
it involved somehow. It should be like a conversation. There shouldn't be this hierarchy of higher mighty designers or higher mighty developers and engineers, because in some companies there is the opposite. The engineers come to the designer and tell them, we need a package for this product.
Yeah.
We need a package for it. Like, this should be the package for our product. They don't include the designer at the very start. They just come at the very end, at the very end, and they told them, packages for us. We need a good interface. They literally say, do your magic. Make a good interface. You are graphic designers. Make it pretty.
Yeah. It needs to be invoiced in every part.
It's not about pretty. It's not about pretty. You have to be involved in us from the very start. So I have to tell you how users will be interacting with this interface. We know more about users than you guys. You want simplicity, you want logics, you want that, but users, they don't do that. They are not engineers. They don't want hassle. They don't want trouble.
And that's how collaboration is so important and
Exactly.
being involved.
At the very early stage, everyone has to be on the board.
That's amazing. And that makes me think about the time that about Glue Up. Would you tell us about that? So take us back to the beginning. What problem was Glue Up originally trying to solve?
Oh, well, the project was started from scratch, from just scrap of paper and ideas, and we decided to make a product. Then, because we thought that we're gonna solve this problem of attendance and registration, then we didn't run it properly as we imagined with a sheer number of users. Then the D-Day that came to try to just use it, it was one of these events hosted by the big four of the accounting. And it was, I will not say a catastrophe, it was a disaster. They end up bringing paper and pen to solve a problem. Then we went back again and we had a very good discussion and conversation about what happened. How did it end up this way? What did we do wrong? Actually, there was some kind of a solution that was possible, but on the engineering level, they wanted just for speed to cut corners. They say never cut corners, we never did too much shortcuts. So it ended up that the unexpected situation happened, and the solution they provided didn't solve the problem. It make it worse. The whole situation has to be solved within 5 minutes. It took something like 20 minutes to be solved, which solve a lot. So it was a good lesson for everyone. When next time we say how we're gonna create a solution, we don't have to just to rely on our imagination. We have to rely on a real problem, on the real issue that happened, and everyone experienced it firsthand. So the frustration of everyone not being able to attend the event because of our mistake.
Yes, of course. And how do you think your own role changed as the organization moved from a small startup to an international company?
With time and with this that scale of the company that you are involved with, you learn like there is a different philosophy of design and management. Become really challenging because after Duop, I moved to a Chinese company. I was the only foreigner and I had a translator with me because I neglected learning Chinese. Yeah, I just told myself, I'm playing with English all the time. Why do I need to learn Chinese? I can just handle with the auto translation. And they just hired me a translator to, because I was the only foreigner, so it was fine. They needed me. They asked for me by name. So one of their customers was Tencent, was just one of their customers. They were a company specialized in data analytics, and it was AI at the start. It was the early age, machine learning, and so on. And you have many teams working, and you have issues after issue from different company, and you have to meet with everyone, and you have to collect data. And these people are really serious people. They don't job. They need speed and they need time and they need solutions. They don't need mistakes. Mistakes is a sin because there is competition and it's a reputation. You cannot lose face in China. I don't want to congratulate people. I just don't want to lose my face as a company. My reputation is very important. Therefore, your solution and the speed and everything has to be. It's a very stressful environment. No time for resting. And they rely a lot on meetings. A lot of meetings in China. That's for sure. Okay, in the American company, we relied mostly on Slack. There was some rules. I even shaped some of the rules in communicating the information is no verbal communication whatsoever. No conversation without backup or track. And in China, they try to gain speed inside the meeting, but things can fall apart in between. I don't know. Maybe in the Western culture of communication, maybe it's quite different. Even when I came the first time into China and I saw a web page, for me as a person which I would consider myself from the Western side, I couldn't read it. It's too much information at once. No, for them, that is the easy way. Put everything at once front of me. Now I find my way. Just put everything there. And I say to them, how can you read it? How can you just possibly read it? Like it's not just a newspaper, it's dense, it's that, you know. That's how we understand things. You have to put everything at once.
Hmm. So different.
Yes, it's for us when we talk about the design from our perspective, an European or American or that, we say, oh, make it simple, oh, make that. No, doesn't work with them. You have to think completely different, 180 degrees. You don't have to think the way that you do it in the American company. But I think over time, the two visions of how to see the product started to merge, started to be taken one single direction. Like it was becoming more universal. And with AI, and that's how they come to it, we will both be doing the same things with different language.
Yeah.
And we will both will end up falling into the same design. Because I joined in 2010 and I left at 2020. once or 10 years in China, I have witnessed a lot of changes in the way that we used to see design.
Yes.
It's evolved and it's become universally accepted. Like one single design that you can find it everywhere.
And I think that once that you're speaking about AI, I have a very particular question. I read an article that you wrote a while ago about AI. So I want to know what generally excites you about AI at the moment.
Good question. It's just like any other tools that you have in your life. I bought a sharp calculator in 1981. It was something like magic.
Yeah, I had one too. I love that.
And that's when I heard like from an accountant. It's not because you have a calculator that you have to rely on it all the time.
Fair enough.
You have to learn to have like a quick, smart way to do it with your hand and just look at the numbers and you make the calculation. You don't have to pipe it to find the solution. Because now when you are like in a shop and you give them £20, if the machine is not working, they will find it very difficult to find out how much change they have to give you back. It's a problem. It comes. This is without the involvement of AI. This is a simple, automated way to find solution. AI, it's a tool that help us to accelerate the process. We cannot go in over and over and they say AI is taking our jobs. No, it does not take our job. It's accelerating our life. It's us who need to adapt to improve our job. I myself changed career many times because I felt the need for that. I never intended to be this or that. I find with I can easily change my career and improve it and gain more expertise. You do not take AI as a solution for every problem. No, the AI is an accelerator. It helps you to reach a certain way. Because when we just take a simple things as a self-taught using AI, I am a self-taught. Yes. How I will be using AI as a self-taught? It's a big problem. And it's happening now because a lot of people now started to do self-taught, not the conventional way, traditional way. No, AI is bringing an unorthodox way to do it, but it could be very dangerous.
Yeah.
If it's not treated carefully. Because AI, literally, the way we see it now, is a predictive form of writing. It does not think. AI, ChatGPT or anything, it does not think for you.
No.
Just give you some writing that is predictable.
Yep.
It tells you like a parrot. It will repeat things that you see around a very big pool of information. And it's about what are the question you are asking and how do you judge the answer he gave you is the right answer. AI, we use it to accelerate, to speed things up. It's not the ultimate outcome. You have to think twice. It's right or wrong. You have an accountant and you decide to fire the accountant and you bring something with AI to just to do the job. An accountant knows his business and the AI is limited in the way he will gonna answer for a certain solution. A good accountant is an expert. AI help the accountant to do it faster than anyone else. You don't replace an accountant with AI. You just improve the work of the accountant by providing him with an AI as a solution. You improve the work of the designer with AI as a solution because the designers know the trade, the engineers know the trade. Everyone knows the trade. AI is an accelerated tool because it will give you a lot of errors in between, and it's up to you as a person to
Overcome them, not to change them.
think. And that's when we have to make a differentiation. AI is not a replacement. AI is a tool of acceleration. You do not replace people with AI.
And I think that's why it's so important to preserve critical thinking because when we use the tools, as you said, with the skills and expertise that you own, that you have lived, you can make better decisions and use the tools rightly. And I believe also there's a lot of businesses out there that are using AI instead of solving a real problem just for the need to belong because it's a fashionable feature to have.
So as I say again, and if we are thinking about AI, we have to think about it this way. It will help with time that people will ask better questions. Like they will not think everything that providing them as certain. They will have to use their own judgment. And it's not because it was said this way, it is for sure ethical. No, we have to just to questioning the ethical part. And certainly we have to be responsible in the way we are taking decision.
Absolutely.
You know what I
And
mean?
in those terms, who do you think would be responsible when AI enabled systems produce harm or unfair outcomes?
Oh, because it's a product, AI is the responsibility of the maker. But I'm not going to say I'm not going to control altogether.
Yes, I agree. And I think the responsibility comes in several layers because it's the user.
If you notice earlier, let's say we have to learn to take responsibility for our decision.
Absolutely.
It requires us. You cannot just with this culture of compensation when something happened. So ChatGPT, OpenAI, they are responsible. No, does it
Mhm.
properly.
Exactly. I think that's so important, so relevant. When it comes exactly about talking about failure and uncertainty and reinvention, I want to ask, so how do you personally respond when something you have invested significant time and energy fails? How do you respond to that?
That is one of the oldest issue with changes. I spent some time learning design and neurology, and I wanted to understand actually addiction. I used to be a heavy smoker. I smoke a full package of cigarettes in 4 hours only during the night. I never smoke in the daylight. Only after I finish work and the sun goes down, start smoking. The whole package for 30 years. I'm 56. And when I understood addiction, what does it mean? As a designer, I was able to quit in a single day
Wow.
by a decision because addiction is inside the brain, is not what you hold in your hand. You decide to change a habit. So I find out actually we are wired to refuse the change,
Hmm.
to
Yeah, it's easier.
stay conventional, stay the way you are. Why? Because for the brain, it consumes less energy. Any change you do will end up by requesting a lot of burning energy for the brain. So biologically, any new idea come to the brain, it has to be without discussion rejected. No, it's a very big no. As a good friend tell me, the best way to have a good product is to know how to sell it to yourself first, then to the board. If you come to the board and you manage to sell it to them, that's a good product.
Definitely, yeah.
So if you manage to make people change their mind about change that you think would be beneficial, everyone will change with you. They will agree with you. Every time you spend some time to understand the benefit of the change, you don't stick to the old way as the only way because that's the convention. That is the tradition. If the circumstance changes and the benefit for everyone will come with that change, you have to go through it. As I say, any new idea, it means a certain branches of synapse are going to be built. Means there is a certain energy will be spent to try to build this new network in the brain. You need a new habit. You have to spend 20 days at least. So your brain started to fix it because it's physically the time for the neuron to build a new network. So they build the new habits. And when you're trying to convince people that you are asking them too much, really, you have to just excuse everyone around you when they refuse the change. You have to know that it's nobody against you. It's a biological things that happen inside their brain to refuse the change. And it's up to you to understand what is a change before you ask them to change.
Speaking of change, what do you think is an agent of change?
Is a person with a lot of courage, just not to stick to what is the normal, the status quo. is to have the courage to say to everyone, there is a new way.
Absolutely. And do you see yourself as an agent of change?
No, my life was always still change. I don't even know my future, how it look like, because I know deep down that I will have to make a change. I always imagine, okay, I will settle in this. I imagine the grass that I'm doing, the garden that I'm designing, and I imagine, but I'm sure it's just for 5 years. And I'm sure I will give it to someone else. I will leave all of this because deep down I always looking for that difference, that new, because I always imagine like something new is coming, something always good happening when you always change the path. Always this curiosity around that drive you to make the change is a curiosity thing.
Absolutely. And is there a particular change that you are proud that you were helping to create?
Yes, is after 50 years, suddenly I discovered that I have issues, have to change them. And it wasn't really the problem of any person around me, it was my problem. And I have to change. So I have to spend my time to just find out where is the problem, how to change it. Because apparently, when a person spends a lot of time with himself or with herself or themselves, is thinking that everyone is against them. And if they just to have to give themselves a chance to change and to just to look at this problem differently, they will just be surprised. I think the biggest change is on themselves.
Absolutely.
Biggest things.
I like the way you phrase that because I think most of us think about change in something we do externally, but I think most of the cases it starts inside us and then therefore we can have an impact outside ourselves.
It happened to everyone. Why? Because we don't sign a contract we'd like to come and we know in advance what would happen. We come, we are brought up in a family that we didn't choose, in an environment we didn't choose, in a language we didn't choose, in a lot of things we didn't choose. And we all same the same biology, but you have a different way of how our brain cope with it. And we have a certain window to see each other. And we start to make a kind of judgment of difference between each other. And we say, why not me? Why them? Why this? Why that? And we start to see the normal is to be this or to be that. Then we start to see why I behave this way, why I get that way. And because sometimes it's an inherited things happening from generation to generation, and just inherited unsolved until a person decided to change.
Yeah. And based on that, what qualities do you think that matter more than, technical expertise and experience when you're building something? So I understand that first would be that understanding that my brain is going to try to stop me from making change.
This room, I spent a year to try to paint it. That's a lot of delays, a lot of pushing the date. And I told myself, okay, I understand procrastination. I understand why I didn't do it. But what stopped me from doing it? Because I find out people sometimes when they were trying to make the change, they imagine a whole big picture of change. No, you don't need to go that far. You just have to make small baby steps. And you have to consistency. Secret, small steps, discipline, and consistency. By the end, you will find yourself have achieved without noticing instead to have waiting for that big job. Because as I told you, when you're trying to make a change, the brain just trying to judge it to say, oh, that's a lot of energy. Just okay. They tell you, go scroll the phone and be stressed. No, I need to bother. Just scroll. Listen, put yourself there on the sofa. Why need to bother? Let that. No. You just make the little change. Okay. I started smashing the walls, changing. And they make the states, and you have perfection. Stop being perfect. Stop looking for perfection. Just do this. Okay, it's not completely, but in the end, the room is clean. And it's done. It's finished. It's done.
I love that.
Now I feel different. Now I have energy to move to another room and change it. Simply because I started something. Small step, consistency, persistent, discipline.
Makes sense. Let's move on to quick fire reflections. So, What problem are you currently most curious about?
I'm learning trading. It's been now 2 years, please, and I still working on it because that is one of the hardest job. Apparently, money is an art. It's a very hard. When I heard about Warren Buffett, how he worked on it, I really understood very late because I always refused to do tradings. Although I work a lot with analytics, but I never liked it until I was convinced with it. So I started to treat it as a product, as a system. So for me, it's a new way to try to apply the discipline because I'm an impulsive person. But what kills the trading is taking the wrong decision in a compulsive way. So it does help me. And but again, I spend a lot of my time trying to think about AI and what I can see, what is coming, what is the next. And I am trying to see, for instance, AI and economy and AI in education.
And what change would you most like to see during the next, let's say, 5 years?
Now that's a very important question because now my rhythm have slowed down because I started to look after the garden. So for me, I see time by season. So when I look at Falvis now, when I talk about it, it's not like long ago when I used to see 5 years. Long ago, I used to see a lot of things happening. Now I just see things like maybe I have to enjoy more and know how to enjoy it and benefits from that time. And this is true. When you have time, it doesn't mean that you have to spend all of the time working. You have to spend a certain time resting. You don't have to spend 4 units out of 5 working. It's just to give a mediocre solution. And you only have 1 unit left for you to rest out of these 5 units of your time.
Yeah,
That is the most inefficient way of living.
absolutely, 100%. One more last question. When you look at the world around you, where do you believe change begins?
For me, myself, if I see that, if I see something has to change to make a certain benefit for me or for someone else, and I don't do it, that's the problem. That I just by standard into nothing and complain.
That's an interesting way to put it. I love that. Thank you so much for joining me and for sharing not only what it takes to design and scale successful products, but also the importance of curiosity and empathy and responsibility in the process. And what I take from this conversation is that innovation does not begin with technology, it begins with noticing the problems that are there, noticing the people that we have learned to tolerate, noticing the assumptions that nobody's questioning, and noticing the possibility of creating something better. Your story also reminded me that the expertise is not always beginning with a formal path, and it can begin just with curiosity and experimentation and the willingness to keep learning. An agent of change is not simply somebody with a powerful idea, it's somebody prepared to listen, to test, adapt, and turn that idea into something that improves people's lives. You have been listening to Conversations with Agents of Change. I'm Izy Boyd, and I will see you in the next conversation. This podcast is produced by the Change Impact Group.